And I'd like to thank you for joining me for the first video of the Bootstrap series. And this is a series of videos that are intended to bootstrap groups at the local or state chapters or any groups in the Sierra Club community who want to start hosting events both in person and live, and want to do it in an organized fashion and want to be able to publicize those events on various social media platforms. So there's going to be a series of 3 videos. This first one is going to be how to organize events and have people submit their events, people in your group submit events and keep those organized. The second video is going to be about creating a video stream of those events if they're going to be online. And then the third video is going to be strategies for sharing out information about upcoming events that your group might be having. So as you'll see open here, I have a spreadsheet. This is Google Docs. It could be any spreadsheet really that you have at your disposal. It's helpful to use an online spreadsheet. So both of the operating systems, Mac, the popular operating systems, Mac and Windows, Apple and Microsoft have their own online spreadsheet software. Apple has Numbers, and of course Microsoft has Excel, and they have online versions of that. And then this is Google here, right? So it's helpful to start out when you're planning your events to make sure that everybody is communicating together and putting their information about events into a single source. And this will come into play later when we talk about sending information out on the multiple communications platforms that you have, social media platforms, email, etc. So you want to have a single source of information for this so that the information, you can verify that it's correct, and you can verify that everyone is sending out that correct information. So first and foremost, what you want to do is create a spreadsheet that organizes the information in a way that captures the essence of it and sort of the metadata of it, right? So here I have the title. I've got a column for organization and a column for date and a column for time and a column for the location of it. If it's going to be physical or virtual, you can note that in the location. And then the description of the event. And you always want to put something meaningful there. It should be written in complete sentences, because remember, this is what's going to go into the media posts, the social media posts and the emails and whatnot. And then it's always helpful to have a more info URL. So as you're communicating with folks, particularly if you're partnering with other groups who are going to be having events, it's helpful to have a URL that shows more information about the event, or if you want to duplicate the online URL just to be sure that people have it. That's really an important thing to provide, because the social media in particular, or even the emails, we're not going to necessarily have the links or have all of the information themselves about the event that you're having, or maybe some nuanced details. So you want to provide a link to something that's more substantial, particularly if you're talking about sending out a collection of these events. So for example, the contents of this spreadsheet gets sent out to all of the Huron Valley Group members who have subscribed to our events email list. I've got some software that parses this and puts it into an email. And invariably, if you've got an email with many events, you want it to be brief and to the point, and then have links to more information. So there's also a column for volunteers needed. This is helpful for the folks that are organizing your volunteers to make sure that they know who is interested in volunteering for an event. And so you've got volunteers needed, yes or no. You can put yes or no there, or leave it blank if not. defaults to no, basically. And then also, once you've decided that you will have volunteers, you can have a volunteer sign up section where you put the names of the people and maybe the contact info of the people who are interested in volunteering for this event. Okay, so at the very top of this, I've got an example event here. I filled in the title. Organization, this can be your organization or a subcommittee or a committee within your organization, within your group. So for example, this is the political committee. Example has the political committee of the Huron Valley group. Then you have the date. Now, one thing you're going to want to do for the date is make sure that everyone puts it in the same way. So in many spreadsheet software packages, there's a way to format the date and do data validation. You're going to want to look at that because invariably people will try to put in dates in a variety of formats. What I do is limit it to validation so that it always takes this format here. Then you have the little calendar, and then they select the day and it fills it out in this format. This is good for consistency. If you're going to be sending out an email or posting into some event, there's little ambiguity from event to event in terms of the format, right? And time, the same thing. This is actually a pull down that has different starting times. And again, this makes sure that people enter in their starting times in a way that is consistent. So it should always be like this in this format. And location we talked about, and description, again, put something meaningful in there. Ideally, it should be written in complete sentences. And so when you have all of that, when you have your header out, and I generally put this in a different color, and I will do what's called a freeze on one row. I'll select that row and freeze it. That means that if you sort this by title or whatever, that top row will always stay the same. And you can let folks who are working in the spreadsheet know that they can organize it in this fashion. And then lastly, what you're going to want to do is share that out. So you want to share that out to the different people who are involved in your organization. You can add their names and you can set them to be either editors, for example, in Google, or a commenter or a viewer. A viewer is somebody who can just view the information. An editor is someone who can edit the information. And then a commenter is someone who can add comments using the comment functionality. You see that right there, so that they can comment on something and maybe suggest changes, but not necessarily change it themselves. So once you have this done, you can, once you have one sheet done, you can then create tabs that duplicate it out for every month of the year. And so we've got March, April, May. This is the examples tab that I created for you folks watching this video. And then also there's a parking lot where folks can put events that are upcoming where maybe you don't know where or when it's going to be, but you know it's coming and you want people to know about it within your group that are organizing events or within maybe your region or other groups that you're collaborating with or whatever. And that puts you in a great position of having information long before it's coming up, right? And to be prepared to put it out there for the public. So once you have this spreadsheet and you've created multiple tabs, you can always select a tab and then work with that tab and copy the information row by row and share it with other folks in emails. You can paste it into social media, etc. I'll be making a script available that I mentioned that I use to convert this to an email format, a nice looking email format. And so basically what you would do is you would go to the you can, well, I should point out, you can publish to the web. You can do that, but you can also share it. And so if you share it out to people, you can share the whole sheet. You can, as I said, publish it to the web, and you can also export it out into a format that is usable by other folks, like for the script that I was talking about. Basically, you can export it as a tab delimited or comma delimited file, and then utilize it in other software or scripts or whatever. So for example, you can download a version in Excel, open document, a PDF, web format, and then here's the comma separated values, CSV or the current sheet, and tab separated. So if you have text that has commas, it's good to use tab to avoid that. So that is how you maintain a spreadsheet of events within your group. This is, some folks are maybe familiar with this kind of stuff. Some might not be, but it's helpful to, I think, share this information to help folks bootstrap themselves into providing online events or in-person events in an organized fashion. So again, I do appreciate you joining me for this video, the first in the Bootstrap series. Again, the second video is going to focus on organizing an online event, how you fill out the video meeting information and share it out with people. And then the third video will be publicizing stuff through social media platforms and whatnot. So thank you for joining me, and I would encourage you to check out the other videos that we have on the Sierra Club Huron Valley Group's YouTube channel. We've got recordings of a lot of our events that you've seen actually advertised here in our events email and on social media. So I'll talk to you soon.